All right, good morning. Here's a video to go over just the second page of 9A. I kind of added this thing a little bit later, so it's not part of the original 9A video, but I thought it was important to just go over some background information and some vocab or something like that. And so here's sort of what I wanted to sort of do with this. So suppose we were to say that $100 increases by 12% per year, okay? Well, if we increase by 12% per year, what we really are going to multiply, we're going to take our money and multiply by 1 plus the rate, okay? 1 plus the rate. So in this scenario here, we want to increase by 12% per year. So what we're going to do is we're going to multiply 100 by 1 plus the rate. The rate is 12%, so that's 0.12. Okay, so 1 plus 0.12. So if we're increasing by 12%, what we're really going to multiply by 1.12. Okay, we're really going to multiply by 1.12 because we have to multiply by the 1 right there because we're still keeping our $100, which is important, right? So we got to multiply by that. Then we got to multiply the 100 by 0.12, 0.12, excuse me, and add those together. All right. Now let's talk about decreasing. Let's say we had $400 that decreased by 7% each year. If we're decreasing by a certain rate, we're going to multiply by 1 minus the rate. Okay, by 1 minus the rate. So we have our 400. And we're going to multiply by 1 minus the rate. The rate is 7%. 7% is 0.07. There. All right. And so once that happens, what we're really multiplying is we're going to have 400 times 0.93. Okay. So another way to think of that is if we're decreasing by 7%, we're multiplying by 93%. Because 93% is, subtract that from 100 is 7. Okay. So decreasing by 7%, we're really multiplying by 0.93. All right, this is some background information I wanted to get out of the way. That way we don't get confused about, if we're increasing by a certain rate, we do 1 plus the rate and multiply that number. If we're decreasing by a rate, we do 1 minus the rate and multiply by that number. All right, just some exponent rules here that we should know, but I want to make sure that we reiterate. Any number raised to the power of 0 is equal to 1. Okay, any number raised to the power of 0 is equal to 1. So looking at this exponential function right here, let's say we have an exponential function 2 times 5 to the x power. What will be the y-intercept? Well, from our Algebra 1 days, and maybe even before, we know the y-intercept is where x equals 0. Right? The y-intercept occurs where x is equal to 0. They're the same thing. Okay, so in this exponential function, if we have 2 times 5 to the 0 power, 5 to the 0 power is 1, so we're going to have 2 times 1, which is equal to 2. Again, what will be the y-intercept of this one? If we have 10 times 0.82 to the x power, what will be the y-intercept? So for the y-intercept, again, we set x equal to 0. So we're going to have 10 times 0.82 to the 0 power, which is really going to be 10 times 1, which is 10. All right. So in an exponential function, when we have y equals a times b to the x power, right? The a is going to be the y-intercept, right? The a value right there is going to be your y-intercept. Because when you set x equal to 0, this thing here becomes 1 if x is equal to 0. All right, so then you have a times 1, which is a. So your a is just going to be your y-intercept. Last rule we have on the second page: any number raised to a negative exponent and it's moved to the denominator. So it's moved to the denominator, and the exponent becomes positive. Okay, move to the denominator, exponent becomes positive. So if we have the parent exponential function 1 times 2 to the x power, f of negative 4 is going to be 1 times 2 to the negative 4th power. Again, what's going to happen is this 2 to the negative 4th power is going to go to the denominator, so we're going to have 1 over 2 to the positive 4th power. Okay, so 1 over 2 to the 4th power is going to be 1/16. If we were to do f of negative 8, all right, so now we're going to have 1 times 2 to the negative 8 power, which is going to be 1 over 2 to the 8th power, which is going to be 1 over 256. And so on and so forth. See if you can try f of negative 100 and see if we can predict the horizontal asymptote from this. All right. If we were to sketch this thing out, again, here's the graph right there. Our y-intercept is at 2, or is at 1, excuse me. The y-intercept's at 1. And we know the graph kind of comes up like this. It comes down, down, down this way, kind of like that. So, yeah, it's messy. Let's redraw this. So we have a y-intercept at 1. Comes up like this. It kind of comes down here like that. So think about the horizontal asymptote as we come this way. So that's that. We'll pick up the rest when we come back next Tuesday. Let me know if you have any questions. Thank you.